have a friend, you and a friend pull up like where a stranger is in between you, like their car's in between your car?
Like in your 20s. Wait.
Yeah,
What?
exactly.
Welcome to the Beacon House Podcast, recorded live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
And that's how the batshit cured cancer.
And that's how Carrie stole the funny beginning from Casey.
Boom, suck it, Casey. And for the rest of you guys, welcome to the Beacon House Podcast. We are delighted to be here today. I'm Spence.
I'm Hunter.
I'm Casey.
And Casey, I'm sorry you got your intro hijacked like that.
I'm totally okay with it.
I would be okay with it too, because it was the work of a very, very special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, very, very dear, longtime friend of mine, Carrie, who happens to be a psychologist and also is wonderful to talk to about a great many other things. So, Carrie, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Please say hello to our lovely audience.
Hello, lovely audience. Thank you so much for listening.
Isn't she pleasant?
She is, and we got that on the first try. It did not take multiple takes.
Not at all.
Yeah, not at all. There's been no editing up to
She
this
could
point,
replace
so.
Casey.
Yeah, she could. She's got the funny beginnings down pat.
No.
You said it.
You're supposed to fight that.
No.
Don't roll over like a little bitch.
Oh, tough. Hey, real quick, guys, I have another awkward story for you guys.
Here we go.
I did something.
Did you refuse to let someone use your phone again?
No, it's much worse.
Okay.
So, do you know when you're getting off 40 on Walker Springs, and you're by that Pilot where the red light is, and there's like Pilot, McDonald's on the right, past the Walmart. So I'm at that red light, and there's a bunch of guys standing on the side of the road, and I guess they're ready to cross, but the light turned green, so I went to go move forward, and the guy stuck his hand out and stepped in front of my car.
Like he put his hand out like he was stopping you?
Yeah, like, hey, we're moving across the street. So I just continued to keep going, and he backed up, and then I flipped them off as I continued to drive away. And then afterwards was like, that's kind of a dick move on my part. I probably could have just let him cross the street.
You know, at least you're setting some boundaries, and that's an important thing to do. Even in traffic.
I felt like you don't get to control traffic just because you put your hand out and put one foot in front of my tire.
You know what's funny?
I'm going to continue forward. You better get out of my way because I'm in a giant metal machine and
I
you're
win.
a person.
a really, really good friend of mine that we've already talked about, we swear we're eventually going to have him on, Adam Lutz from Awaken Church. We used to have a hilarious joke about when people just feel like they can direct traffic with their hand, even from other cars. So if you're sitting at an intersection and somebody else wants you to go, they'll motion for you to go, and you feel like you have to obey it.
No.
And he would we would ride together, like to get lunch or something, and we would pull up and he would go, stop this guy. Just put your hand up and stop this car from coming. Act like we're going to turn, just stop that guy. And I would go, what are you talking about? He goes, just do it. And I would hold my hand up to the windshield, and people in other cars would stop, like, wait, is something going on? And we would just not go. We would laugh. He would go, here, wave this guy through. Now stop that guy. Now wave him through. Now stop him. And we would just terrorize an intersection. Wow. That was one of Adam's old tricks. Yeah.
My
and it
favorite
really works.
trick.
When people see your hand, they think, oh, there's going to be a wreck if I don't stop.
My favorite trick, and I don't recommend anybody really do this because it's not nice, but if you ever have a friend, you and a friend pull up like where a stranger is in between you, like their car's in between your car.
Like in your 20s. Wait.
Yeah,
What?
exactly. But no, so me and my friend, if we both left work at the same time, we're at the intersection. He would always go right, I would go left to go home. And if there's ever a car in the middle, we would both look at each other, put our car in reverse, and then slowly start backing up to where the person in the middle thought they were moving forward.
I hate that sensation.
And you would just watch the person in front go like this, stuck on their brake, as they thought they were just moving forward. And then we would stop and then put it back in reverse and move back up. And the person would just one time a person got out of the car and started yelling at us. And at that point, the light turned green and we left. But it's a very mean thing to do, but also fucking hilarious.
Oh, well. So things not to do in traffic by Casey.
That's at a stoplight. It's safer. You also got to make sure there's no one behind you.
Well, Carrie, let's talk about you for a little bit. What have you had going on lately? What have you been involved in? I feel like you're always involved in a lot of exciting things. Like you're an actress, and you're really you teach spin classes, and you're advancing the mental health of Knoxville. I mean, come on. I feel like you have a very exciting life. Give us some story. What have you been up to?
No pressure. All right. So, I just finished doing the new play festival for Tennessee Stage Company.
Oh, no, okay. Talk about that. What's that? Slow down. Go over that with us.
Tennessee Stage Company has a new play festival, and you have kind of 3 stages to it. Playwrights who've never had their play produced before will submit it from all over the country. If it gets chosen, it'll go to a table read at different libraries. People come in, provide feedback, and that feedback gets back to the author. The author makes some edits and then can resubmit it for the second phase, which is a staged reading where you have minimal props, script in hand with the actors, some blocking, providing feedback. They can always do some more edits to it and then submit it for a full production. That's just the short of it. So
that
I was
sounds super professional.
So I was in the short. I mean, I don't put it on. I just do stuff. So I was in that, and in that somebody came, a filmmaker came and saw me, and so now I have a film project coming up in September. So it reminded me of a funny story. Well, I think it's funny. A few months ago, I was at the Market Square garage. You know how they just have this new restroom that they put in?
Yeah.
And really fancy and high tech and pretty, and I don't know if it's high tech, but
That's where the homeless people sleep, so I try to avoid it.
okay, well, yeah, maybe they do. So this one night, it was stormy. It was stormy. We were coming down. I couldn't hold it. So my husband just let me get out of the car. I was like, just wait here. Left the phone, everything. I go in, and I walk in. Lights are on. Go into the stall. Shut it. I'm doing my business, and the lights go out. And I can still see the light because it's opaque, from the door. I can see, I thought, well, maybe there's a generator in the parking garage, but the lights are out in here. Maybe there's a sensor to it, and you just walk in and you're not making enough movement. I don't know. I finish what I'm doing, I go to get out, and I can't open up the door. And I don't have my phone with me, so I can't say, can you come in and open the door for me?
This is terrifying.
And so the lights are out, a little bit of a shadow, and I'm just like, what am I going to do? Is this because the power went out? Is there some sort of hydraulic, I don't know if that's even the right term, this door that's not, it's connected to the electricity somehow? What is going on right now?
Just to get a clear picture, were you in the dark, in the bathroom, just flailing about, hoping to activate a sensor?
In the stall.
In the stall.
Wait, the stall door is what you couldn't
The
get
stall
open?
door I couldn't get out of.
Please tell me it was because it's a pull, not a push.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Let the storyteller finish the story. Christ, Casey.
I love it. It's cool. No, it's cool because that does come into play.
He is not cool, but go on.
So I am trying to get out. To the best of my recollection, I am pushing and pulling, but I'm not panicking. I'm just thinking, how am I going to get out? I can't climb over the top. I can't, and I'm looking around, and it's relatively clean. So
It's not, though.
but it appears really clean.
And at this point, you're just sort of lying to yourself for hope.
No, I'm telling you, there were no.
I can do a little laundry when I get home. It's fine.
There was no wet marks. There was nothing that would require me to put a toilet paper
Shawshank
cast
Redemption,
over my body just to be able to get. So I totally
This is awesome.
Catherine Zeta-Jones'd it underneath, from Entrapment where her ass is in the air, and I did not look sexy like her. So let me just go ahead. I didn't do that. I thought I did that. I didn't do that. Butt in the air,
In
hitting
your
the
mind, yeah.
In my mind, yeah. Don't anybody open up the door. So I'm army crawling it underneath the stall, trying to get out. I get out, probably hurt my back because I'm also not Catherine Zeta-Jones shape. I get up, I get out, get in the car, and I tell my husband what was going on. And on the drive home, I'm like, I think maybe I could have pushed the door and not pulled it. But I really feel confident that I did that, and I haven't been back there to test it yet.
Well, I also think if
you think about
thinking
it.
of a bathroom door, you said you could have pushed it instead of pull.
Or one of them. I don't remember. It felt like there was another option.
Because usually bathroom doors will do both. They're like on a
hinge that will just let
they
it
go
do that.
in or out.
This had a coil. I remember looking at it, and there was this coil on it, and that's what made me think there's some sort of. It's connected. It felt like it wasn't.
I mean,
moving.
it was
and
dark.
I would push. I was afraid I was going to break it. That's what I remember. That if I keep putting pressure on this, it's going to break.
I mean, to
So
be
did
fair,
you ever find out why the lights went out?
I
or
have
what?
no idea. I
Wow.
imagine it's because it's on a sensor, and
this is
I just wasn't making
fancy bathroom they put in the Market Square garage.
You've
Yeah.
not
I've
been
not
to
seen
it?
it. No. I've been to the garage, but I've not seen bathrooms. Where are they?
it's at the bottom.
The very bottom.
Oh, I don't know where that's at.
It's very
at
brightly
the bottom
lit.
where
Near the
you
elevator?
exit.
No, it's near the exit.
At the bottom.
It's at the.
That's where the
I
elevators
don't know
come
where
up.
that's.
It's where the
at.
handicap
The
parking is at
lowest
the bottom.
level.
If you go to the lowest floor in the garage, Spencer,
Hence the
where you're on
bottom.
the ground level,
I always go there when I go down the steps.
I mean,
Yeah,
to be fair,
it's there.
because it was dark. It could have been that it was a hypodermic needle stuck in the hinge, and that's why you couldn't open it because it is
That's
downtown
comforting.
Knoxville.
That's comforting. I did not see that when I was crawling though. Nothing stuck in me.
Sorry, I have a real big opinion about downtown right now. I work downtown, and so I see a lot of shit that I probably shouldn't see, and it makes me have a real bad opinion about the place. Sometimes.
Sorry. What do you see?
We are sorry, Casey. Show us on the doll where he's hurt you.
They. No, I feel like downtown has. Have you ever been under the bridge off of? If you turn left on Henley, and you're going towards Central and Broadway, you go underneath the bridge, the
Like
campsite.
Jackson?
No, not down towards the old city. Like you go past Jackson, and Balter's on your right, and it's that bridge where it's just homeless people.
He's
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about-
yeah,
he's
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
right
what
near
Carm is.
TKD.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
Well, maybe
what's
if
your
they
take
walked
on
in
that?
front of you in Pilot, you could just flip them off.
No,
Or if they
I
asked
don't
to
know, those
borrow your
people-
phone,
those
you
people-
wouldn't feel so terrible about it.
those were working people.
Oh, okay.
Jeez.
How do you know?
That's fair. The lady at Kroger could not. I mean, she could just never mind. There's a epidemic downtown that a lot of people don't seem to be addressing.
Well,
I know that. Well,
a lot of people care, and a lot of people concerned. A lot of people have different opinions, but it's not a one size fits all solution. By my understanding, a big part of it happened when they closed down Lakeshore.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about
And
that.
so,
yeah.
a lot, what exactly happened? Did it just turn these people out on the streets, or
That's my understanding.
Jesus?
That's my understanding is that they didn't have. Now, I did read, and you'd have to fact check this, that there was another facility that was opening up that's similar to Lakeshore, and I
Right.
think that's supposed to happen pretty
And,
soon.
yeah, and there are levels to it, by the way. I mean, and I'm not trying to just say, oh, like I understand that it's an epidemic and it's a problem, but there are some of the people that are not drug addicts and they're not
and I understand that.
alcoholics, and they actually rent those rooms and they have to go out and like work during the day or apply. There's like different levels, and I'm involved. Again, we don't talk about where we work, but one of the a place I work for has we do 3 times a week. We do a donation
Right.
to Carm, and people can pick it up, and it's like real big organized. And we actually send like a ton of donations to Carm so that people can eat and all this kind of stuff. And then when we encounter them on our property or near our business, we'll say, if they're asking for food or if they're asking for whatever, we'll say, you need to go to Carm. We just sent all of our resources there. And so at least having it kind of localized is supposed to sort of help. Again, I was downtown the other night. I went to see some friends of mine play show at the Pilot Light. Shout out to the Bad Dudes. You guys were so badass. It wasn't even funny. If anybody listening to this hasn't seen real damn rock and roll in Knoxville in a long time, I'm talking fire breathing, real honest to God, badass, like rock and roll. Go see the Bad Dudes. But we were in the old city, and it was just. I was there with my friend Brandon Harmon. Shout out, he's a big fan of the podcast. Also the singer for Stacked Actors, Foo Fighters tribute band. We got a big show about that coming up. Anyway, and yeah, just walking up to the place, we were hit on for cigarettes and money and food and everything like that. And like it's
Okay, so I've got a 3-tiered response. One, I don't do it always, but more often than not, if I have any cash on me, a 5 or less, I try to give that away, knowing full well most times it's going to what you said, some kind of drug thing or alcohol or whatever. As far as your response to it, while I feel the same way you do whenever I either know for a fact that it's being wasted or it gets shit on immediately, there was a guy once that asked for money. It was in front of the Market Square parking garage. And I said I didn't have anything, then realized that I did, felt bad, went back, and gave him like these $3 I had or whatever. And he said, thanks, now I'm going to go spend this on beer. And I was like, okay, well, I hope it tastes good, and then walked away. Because I was like, if you're going to be that shitty about it, there's something there that I can't help, but, you know, I'm not going to, you have it rough enough. I have a home I can go to. So that was how I felt about that. But the anger's still there. I just choose not to act on it most times. That's most times. Which brings me to the second tier, which I feel really bad about because I don't like prejudging people. But if I'm with Libby and we're approached, out of an excess of caution, the answer is always no. And then I get between us and push us along as quickly as possible. And the final thing about that is there's a thing called toxic charity, which a lot of what's given to the homeless population winds up being, and it's out of an abundance of love and care, so that's not meant to shit on it at all. And it's not all of it either. But if you are going out of your way to provide for people, obviously it matters what the details of every situation are, but just what toxic charity is, rather. So I'm not saying this about the homeless population in Knoxville, but if you're providing care for people beyond what is necessary for them to function and beyond what is necessary in a way that allows them to not need to provide for themselves in any capacity, there's something that can be said for the love and grace that takes, but it also winds up being bad for that person and you if it's constant, but mainly for that person because it's crippling. It's like a helicopter parenting almost, but for just other people kind of idea where you refuse to let them build into a situation where they can function in a way that'll let them help themselves.
Doc, what do you think?
Well, if you want me to answer, yeah, I would ask more questions of you guys, but I would say, like, what you're saying is you can enable to a point where it's unhealthy for them and it doesn't do any good. And so my answer, personally, if it's going to depend on the situation. More times than not, my responsibility is to keep me safe. Yeah. My responsibility is not to make sure that this person, and this is going to sound callous, but my responsibility, if I'm walking down a road at night, is not to hand money off to somebody and have more of a conversation that might turn aggressive because I'm a woman and I can be armed. I can do whatever I need to take those types of precautions. But at the same time, that's my responsibility. There's a great course for women called Easy Defense for Women. And I encourage every woman who is listening and every woman you know to take Easy Defense for Women. I took mine at Arts of the Samurai by Sensei Toni McSorley. She is amazing, and I hope she's okay with me giving her a little shout out there. But what that teaches is, if somebody approaches me, I can't help them. And that is in part, that is what I continue to repeat. I can't help you. I can't help you. I can't help you. Because I'm not going to engage in a conversation. Yeah. I don't know that 9 out of 10 times this person is just all talk. And I also can't risk that.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
And that also doesn't mean that I don't give whenever, I know that sounds odd. If I'm pulling up at a stoplight and there's somebody there who has a sign that the person before them left for the next shift to come on and show, and I have cash, I will give cash. I don't care. And what you do with a gift after I give it to you is none of my business. You can re-gift it. You can give it away to somebody else. You can I can see it in Goodwill, and that's fine. It's no longer mine. So I'm not going to be angry with them if they tell me I'm just going to go spend this on some beer. Like, right on, dude. You do what you need to. That's no longer my money. That is your money. You do what you need to for that. If I'm with people and I feel more safe and they approach and I have a buck that is going to be $1 or $2 or $5 or whatever that's easy for me to access, where I'm not looking down, where I'm not putting myself in danger, where I can get it to them in a way that's not going to be endangering me or the people I'm with, and we're going to still be able to keep that bubble and I can be safe. yeah, I have no problem doing that. And again, whatever you want to do with that, you do with it.
I think that's really good advice.
Yeah.
And I would honestly, I don't think people mention that enough. I would encourage anybody listening to this when you find yourself in these positions, think about your own safety first and the possible outcomes of that before you think about the whatever the implications of, well, maybe they should go get a job, or that guy's just going to use it for drugs and alcohol. Or like, start thinking about like the situation. Mm-hmm. I think that's great advice.
You just have to take everything into context. I don't think it has to be all or nothing. I think you can take everything as it comes and just kind of whatever information is coming, whatever your gut feels like it's saying, whatever you need to do in that moment. And it's okay, because again, no is a valid answer to a question. Do you have money? No.
Brought that full circle.
Yeah.
Wow.
100%. Nailed it.
Wow.
Oh, she's a boss, man. I've known Carrie a long time. I know I'm just gushing about it right now, but
Oh, you're so sweet.
Carrie never takes like the simplistic moronic approach to anything. I'm not saying anybody else did, but I mean, she really knows how to look at things from a lot of different angles and realize that nothing really exists in a vacuum. And and let's maybe switch gears a little bit on that. And
if you're wanting to switch gears, I got one.
You got a gear?
Yeah, I got a gear. Do you have a gear? Because I don't want to step on your gear.
No, I was going to open the floor up to Carrie a little bit to talk about some things, but if you've got something, we could throw it out there. And
I want to talk about dreams.
Like how to achieve your dreams?
No. Like
Joel
actual,
Osteen.
like you're asleep.
Like
you
in the
have
movie
a dream.
Flashdance, like just dance your damn heart out.
You're asleep. You
Like
have a
what dreams may
dream,
come?
and you wake up and you go, "What was that?"
It's just you seeing your parallel life when you're asleep.
See, I don't do that to me because
The Mandela effect is real. That's when you jump dimensions.
That's not a Mandela effect. That's
the two dimensions collide. I'm just saying it's real because
multiverse theory.
But that's what I'm saying. The dream is a multiverse. You are going into another universe. You're done.
But it's a theory.
It's not a theory. It's proven.
It's not proven.
Have you seen a Joe Rogan podcast?
Have you heard of the multiverse
There
theory?
is scientific
I
backup.
have.
Like with deja vu and subconsciouses rubbing against each other. What are your
Rubbing
thoughts
against
on that? Like they bounce off each other.
I think you were watching a different show, but I
No, you're like they bounce off each other, and that's why you get deja vus, because a past life or another parallel universe has been in that position, and your subconscious picked it up in your dream state, and that's why you know it so well, and you get that feeling of deja vu. But it's just a theory; it's not a proven fact.
It's proven
Right.
fact.
I don't think it's a proven fact,
I'm
but I
dying to
do
hear what
find
Carrie-
it
I'm dying to hear what
interesting.
Carrie has to say about this.
There's research that suggests that every cell we have holds our memory, right? That doesn't matter if we're accessing it consciously or not. We have that in us. And so,
Like even you can inherit certain types of fundamental memories and things.
well, now you're talking like a universal consciousness.
Is that like genetic memory?
Let me just tell what I'm describing is I heard a story one time about they did an experiment in a laboratory with I guess chickens that were raised in a laboratory with no external stimuli whatsoever. They never saw another animal except a human, the doctors. And then when they reached a certain age, they were shown videos of a hawk, and they all became terrified, even though they had no idea what a hawk was. They had never seen a hawk, and they were trying to sort of I guess they were kind of trying to infer that there's a certain type of like knowledge that can actually.
Instinct?
I think that's called instinct.
Is that instinct?
Well,
though?
there was
When
a
it's
similar test with mice where they would zap them with something, electricity, but just like some level of electricity. And then those mice had offspring and they were not pregnant at the time, but those mice had offspring. And when they would fire up the device that caused the zapping, they wouldn't have to zap them. They would monitor the heart rates, and the
Right.
baby mice, their heart would start racing.
And I feel like on some of
immediately.
these experiments, the point was that it was not instinctual. There was some type of like fundamental molecular like
Residual energy.
residual knowledge and energy that was passed along. I think that's crazy.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Personally, I think
Sure.
energy is a pretty powerful thing that can't be, destroyed.
Agreed.
And so you could have that. You go in and you feel a vibe.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of pick up somebody's energy whenever you're in their space.
Totally. Now you were about to say something about dreams, I think, or you said research suggests. What were you about-
I was just going to ask. I was going to ask you, what do you think about dreams? You said were you asking me? I don't remember where we were going with that.
No, I have reoccurring dreams. One in particular, I've had a few like reoccurring dreams, but one that's extended over a 20-year span where for some reason, when it happens, I'm always near a beach, and it's always very nice, very like lovely and pretty and all that other, and out of nowhere, it's like a tsunami hits, and it's this massive tidal wave that covers my entire peripheral. It crashes, and then I snap awake, and I shoot up. It happens maybe once, every 6 months or once a year, but it always happens at least once a year, if not more. And every time I snap awake, I'm like, what the shit was that about? And so I looked it up, and it's like, of course it's, give or take, looking up your dreams on the internet. Yeah. It's very much like washing your stress away. This is, this isn't, something washing your stress away, or if you're carried away by the tidal wave. And it's like, I'm not carried away. Like the moment it hits me, my body jolts awake because it's like, whoa, don't die. Hop up. So
what do you think? What do you think about that?
Well, dreams are going to be, the interpretation is going to be, I believe, unique to the person having it. That the subconscious often tries to work through some things when it's not given light in the consciousness to do it, or ability or openness. It's interesting what you said. Your words were, and the tsunami comes up in my periphery.
Well, it's I don't know if it's a tsunami. It's literally this massive wave that covers the entire sky to my either the left or right.
Right.
And it comes crashing down, and that's when I wake up.
Kind of like a blind spot?
Kind of, yeah, I guess. Because it it shocks me.
Right.
Awake.
It's unexpected.
Yeah.
So I think if you were to write it down, all the details that you could think about. And like I said, it's not cookie cutter. It's not one size fits all when it comes to dreams. And I am by no means an expert in this. But if you were to write it down and get the details, I think the details and the richness of it can bring a lot of the things from the subconscious to the consciousness. And so I would be curious, for example, what's going on in your life during those, like being more aware of what's happening consciously during those times. What are you thinking of before you go to bed? A lot of times water represents emotion, and that sounds like some pretty heavy emotion that's happening in the dream that seems pretty calm, and then it seems like it's flooding in, it's crashing. And how you're writing it can sometimes be indicative of you already interpreting it. When you were, like I said, you said it's the words that you're specifically using are interesting for how I think you could interpret that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's really important what she said. I've heard about exercises like that before, where you'll ask somebody to describe something they dreamed about, or just the pictures like that with visualization. Say, picture this thing, and then tell me how you feel about it. I think that's kind of another important part of maybe interpreting things like dreams. Is it like, let's say we all had a dream about a flower bed or something, and then we were to get together and go, what do you think that meant? What do you think it meant that we all dreamed about? It wouldn't matter. It would only matter how we feel about flowers. Like if I love flowers, then it was a pleasant dream to me. If you hate flowers, it was a nightmare for you. Yeah. And like your reaction to different things. So it kind of matters what you think about the things you're seeing. You know what I mean? Like that. I think that's huge. So people are.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say, well, that's interesting you bring that up, because the other one that I had, and this one only lasted for about 2 years.
It was like me on a horse with no shirt on and like a cape.
No, it was.
That's a nightmare.
Yeah, it was.
No, it was you with your long hair.
This I consider this
covering your breasts.
Well, I consider this a night terror. But,
covering your breasts.
Yeah.
Carrie brought old pictures of me, by the way. If you guys want to, that's an inside joke. I've known Carrie so long. She's got pictures of me from when I had long hair for 10 years.
It's not going to be an inside joke much longer.
But anyway, these guys have never seen me in like my heavy metal phase, and like, which is not technically true because I'm kind of still in my heavy metal phase. Suck it. But
they'll hear stuff soon.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you mentioned that about how interpreting things, because the next one I had lasted for about 2 years, and it was in my early 20s. I just moved to a new state, and the dream, it wasn't really a dream. It was weird. So it would be dark, pitch black. I couldn't move.
In what you're describing that wasn't really a dream?
Right. It would just be almost a sensation of not being able to move my limbs.
Yeah.
I couldn't see anything. I could only hear muffles, but I could never make out what it was. And I couldn't speak. And it literally lasted for what felt like days. And I'd wake up.
Like sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but most people have sleep paralysis and they can see. And they see things. This was literally like I was so deep in sleep that I couldn't see or hear. Like all I could hear was muffled noises. It felt like it lasted for days. And then I would snap awake and it only been an hour. And I would be like I would be wide awake. I couldn't go back to sleep for an hour or two. I'd have to do something to get my mind off what just happened. Then I'd go back to sleep and be fine. And it literally just happened for like a 2-year period.
Every night?
Well, almost every night, like 3 times a week. And then it just stopped. And I don't know. I don't know exactly what I did to make it stop or what happened. It was bizarre.
That sounds awful.
It was bizarre.
What was the emotion you were feeling behind it?
Every time I woke up, it was cold sweat, night
Like terror?
Just pure, because it was just nothing. It was nothingness. And so it felt real creepy.
So that felt like the terrifying experience when you woke up.
Right.
And I don't know I don't know what that might mean.
Yeah, like
for
in
you.
a coffin.
Like
Just-
in a coffin. Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I just moved, and I want to make it clear that I had moved to Florida for a few years, and I enjoyed that time. So it wasn't like that was what was digging at me. Mm-hmm. But that's just one of those things. Like I tried to look it up, and it really didn't seem like it could be interpreted in any way. It seemed very
Because
like-
it seemed like
it was weird that it happened, and then I would shoot up, and it only been like an hour or two had passed. Like I'd go to bed at 10, that would happen. I'd wake up, it'd be 12:30.
Do you think that is an experience generally about when you have dreams? I mean, I find that to be pretty common.
Find what to be common?
Where you feel like a dream is taking forever, and then you wake up and it hasn't been, or it feels like the dream was really short and it ended up being very long. Is that
Right.
a common thing for you
I
guys?
feel like you don't have a time reference point a lot.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into dreams, like clocks don't make sense in dreams. Light switches don't work the right way. You can't look at a book and read it in a dream.
I can.
See,
Really?
I've heard
Because
that.
I've always heard,
but-
that, like, anytime I've seen a book in a dream, all the words are jumbled. Like, the letters are all
I
mixed
think
up.
that's your dream. I think that's something that's more
I mean, I
personal.
have heard that before.
No, that's a
yeah.
very common theory, but
But-
I don't have a recollection of that personally.
Well,
but
Yeah.
I also don't remember
Also,
enough
with lucid
to know.
dreaming, a lot
Yeah.
of stuff works out the way that.
I would love to lucid dream.
I
I've
can-
tried to get myself to do it, like stare at an object for a really long time until I just fall asleep or put my hands above my head. Like, I've tried and I can't do it. And I think it'd be so cool to be control of your own dream.
Do you remember Grant?
Yeah.
He knows how to lucid dream, and he's been training himself to do it. And most times, if he
100%
wants
is
to,
trainable.
he is able to do it. We kind of fucked with him a little bit after he told us how he figures it out. Which
I think
I'm sorry,
It's
Grant.
always going to work out, but people
Right,
can practice.
but I mean, I can have him like message you or something if you want.
I don't, but see, that's the thing, because I've heard a lot of people who have lucid dreams. It's 50-50. You're either going to have a cool experience where you have control of your dream, or it's going to be the worst nightmare you've ever had, because it gets
Do
out
I
of
take
hand.
this acid or do I not take this acid?
Well, it's like I've heard that sometimes in lucid dreams you take control. However, if the brain tries to like fight it, it turns into like a nasty nightmare to where it terrifies the shit out of you. And it's supposed to be like, I don't know. I've gone on. There's a subreddit for lucid dreams, and a lot of people are like, careful if you're training on trying to make yourself have lucid dreams, because sometimes you don't lucid dream and instead you get into like the nastiest nightmare that will scare the shit out of you, kind of thing.
I think I'd
Which
wanna
is
see-
curious what the subconscious is doing in that point.
That's
Go ahead.
true, and I think I'd want to see some credentials before I bought that from anybody.
I just the threat of it would make me stop. What's already in my head enough
And
is
I've
just makes
had
me
as
want to
many horror
not.
movies as I've seen. I don't want to see what my
Yeah.
subconscious can come up with to scare me.
Right.
Yeah, and I've had a string of dreams where I was like helpless. Like a lot of people have had that real classic dream where you're like moving in slow motion and you're weak and powerless and you're trying to fight somebody and they're big and strong and you're just so slow that you can't swing at them and you're defenseless and then after probably years of having that as a child, like I realized I was dreaming, and then all of a sudden in the dream I was completely powerful and I was lightning fast and I was almost godlike in the dream, and it was a very pleasant experience and nobody could, and you just demolish all of your obstacles and things like that. It's like being the hero of a video game or something. But there was never any like downside to it. It's literally you realize I'm in bed, I'm dreaming, but I'm conscious in my dream and I can control everything. That's to me what lucid dreaming was. And also from people that I've read about, people that I'm inspired by that have written about lucid dreaming, it's kind of the same thing. I wouldn't be afraid of it. I'd definitely look, I'd give it a shot for all,
Maybe I'll try it.
Got it. Well, and I want to say too, for anybody listening to this that's curious about dreams or what dreams may mean or what they're doing, you've got to go online and look up a guy named Matthew Walker. He is his handle on all social media is Sleep Diplomat. He was recently on a completely mind-bending episode of the Rogan podcast all about sleep. It's Matthew Walker. He is an expert on sleep and dreams, and it will absolutely blow you away. So you can either listen to that one, find him on YouTube. I mean, he's got a book, whatever. But if you're interested in what sleeping and dreaming does, you've got to go read this guy.
Do you have the number, like the Joe Rogan podcast number?
Rogan 1109.
1109.
And he even Joe Rogan called it the most important podcast he had ever recorded. And that's out of a lot. And I've heard, but it really was mind-altering. I mean, it was just... The thing this guy will teach you about sleep, it's incredible. And he kind of will give you a little bit of background on what dreams are. Maybe not so much what they mean, but kind of where they come from and what they know about studying people that are dreaming and sleeping and that kind of stuff. It's pretty earth-shattering. And also about and you probably could speak to this too, Carrie, just about how important sleep is to your mental health. And man, like... It's stunning. If he also kind of points out that if you know any of these people that go, oh, I only need 5 hours of sleep. Oh, I can get by on 4 hours of sleep. Everybody knows somebody like that. In fact, for most people, it's me.
Yeah.
But it is so not true. And I mean, it will absolutely terrify you.
There will be times where I'm awake, just got off work, watching TV. And the next thing I know, I'm waking up. It's been 4 hours. And I literally am just like, instead of being mad, I'm just like, clearly I needed it.
Right.
Clearly my body was like, hey, night. And just, you lay down on the couch and you're watching, you're sitting there flipping through channels, and the next thing you know, you wake up, it's 4 hours later, and you're like, oh, I guess I'll get ready for bed and go back to sleep. Because clearly I needed it. Like my body's like, hey, let's cut back on TV watching, video game playing, going outside, doing that stuff, and just sleep for 12 hours because I kind of need it right now.
If you're doing that, that's great. But Carrie, what do you think? What are your observations about sleep and people that have problems with sleep and stuff?
Sleep is good.
There you go.
There you have it.
Heard it here first.
Never mind. Don't go watch that. Just watch this podcast.
Sleep is good. That should be the podcast description for this episode. Sleep is good.
Can we call it that?
Sleep is good.
You can call it whatever you want.
Well, I'll tell you something that I run into a lot. Like I'll be talking about that podcast, or I'll be talking to somebody like, oh man, you really got to get sleep. It's super important. And they go, I can't get to sleep.
Right.
And there's all these different, some people go, well, you have to take melatonin, or no, you need to have a routine, or, I mean, there's just all this stuff. Like what do you like?
I think you want to rule out anything medical, first of all, because there could be something medical that, and again, don't take this as advice. This is just me answering a question.
That's right.
So rule out something medical. And then I think it's important, if you're having difficulty going to sleep, to develop a sleep routine. So what does that look like for you? What do you do right before bed? There's some research that showed having electronics kept you awake, some that showed it didn't make a difference. I think these days we can be inundated with so many things that keep our mind racing when we're online, when we're looking at things. And I think that can just dig in there before you're getting ready to sleep. And what do you have going on in the background? What television show? What's on throughout the day even that you're bringing into sleep?
Yeah.
What are you absorbing? For
me, it's always that that you try to go to bed and you've just got that song you can't get out of your head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. You know what I mean? Because that's what I fixated on. You know what I mean? I'm always thinking about whatever. Like if we were working on something, but I hate it because you need it to turn off and go to bed. And I think the routine is important too. I try to always do the same 5 things before I get in bed. Just so that somewhere that's supposed to turn your switches on. I've heard that, but
I've actually been doing commentaries for films. Mostly. I can't do podcasts because it's too fascinating. Commentaries, are the same thing basically, and it has to be one that I've already seen.
Right.
But if I've seen it, then I don't feel like I need to listen, but it calms me because I like commentaries, and it's either that or silence. I know reading will knock me out, but I can't read currently where I am because there's a danger of dropping the book. This sounds really weird. I just can't read at the moment to go to sleep. But
okay.
But either nothing and darkness, and I'll just deal with it because at some point you will shut down in that situation.
What about a fan? Like a ceiling fan or an oscillating fan?
I actually have a fan that's on me too.
That 100% keeps me awake.
Really?
Does it keep you awake?
I feel it blowing on my skin, and it like stops me from going to bed. I also can't have any sound.
For me, it's like being lulled.
No, I'm
like
one of these
that,
people
when it
that's
blows
like,
on me just gently, and it just feels like someone's just kind of like brushing over me. I
feel like a lot of people need background noise. How many people do you know that they say, I go to turn the TV on and I fall asleep watching TV?
Yeah.
Impossible for me. Any sound at all. TV in the next room.
Do you wear earplugs?
No, but I've had to do that before when I had roommates and they would be loud and stuff. I'd have to put that in. It's almost like Daredevil, like I have to go to bed in this like decompression chamber, or otherwise I can't go to bed. If there's any sound at all, I won't fall asleep. I'm extremely tuned into like noises and things like that.
In that regard, when you wake up, do you blast new metal music and fold your dollar bills before you walk out of your apartment?
What just happened?
I don't know.
He's
trying to be funny.
I'm not trying to be funny. I'm making a Daredevil comment.
No.
He brought it up.
Never watched it.
Yeah, you have. Anyways, you were going to say something.
Oh, no. I was going to say a lot of progressive relaxation techniques can help right before bed.
What would that be?
So progressive relaxation would be, I won't do one right now, but it would be because everybody
listening is going to fall asleep.
Sleep is good is the name of the
Sleep
episode.
is
If they're
good.
listening to driving, that'd be terrible.
Yeah, don't do that.
Oh my God. Don't listen to this episode if you are
right now
operating
if
any
you're driving.
machinery.
You're about to get super fucking relaxed.
So progressive relaxation is what it sounds like. You are relaxing, focusing on, say, from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, but you go through every muscle group. And some progressive relaxation exercises will have you contract the muscle and then release it, so you're really feeling what it's like to release it. Mm-hmm. I don't typically do that if I'm leading one because of my back and neck issues. Whenever I tighten it up, it hurts. And so just if somebody has pain, I try not to do that. But you would go from top to bottom, and you could probably look online, progressive relaxation for sleep. There's going to be something. Detachment from overthinking. There is something on there that I really like. It's a guided imagery or a guided meditation for that. So you can use a lot of guided imagery before sleep as well to kind of listen to it as you drift off. Checking into, like, doing a body scan, a mindful body scan of just feeling what it feels like with your body lying down, where you're connecting to the bed, how it feels, what are the sounds that you're hearing, what's the temperature of the room, how's your breathing, following your breath without really needing to act on it. What does it feel like as it comes into your body? Where do you feel it the most? How does it feel as it leaves? So different things like that, I think, could help as well.
That sounds super relaxing.
Yeah.
And then, and I think at some point when you have something on your mind, I think another thing is just writing everything down that's on your mind right before you're going to bed. And so you're capturing it, you're keeping it somewhere. You've honored the thought. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be there for you in the morning. And asking yourself, is there anything on that list that you need to attend to right then? And if so, get up and do it.
Damn, that's good advice.
And if not, you've got it there, and that's kind of what you can remind yourself. It's there. It's not going anywhere. So.
I feel a lot of people they build up a lot of stress because they feel overwhelmed by things like that. Like they've got a list, and they're not compartmentalizing it maybe like that. And so it just seems to overwhelm them, and they run around all day with very little organization, but they're thinking, I need to do this, I need to do that. And then the phone buzzes, and it's your boss or it's somebody else. And now those people are lumping obligations on you, and that can be super overwhelming. I can see people having a hard time just being mentally healthy or sleeping well with all that. I think writing stuff down and kind of prioritizing things is a great idea. I mean, I'm not an expert, but it's worth giving it. Of course, no one here is claiming to be an expert on anything except maybe heavy metal. I feel like you and I, Carrie and I, probably could. We'll go at you on heavy metal, but That's what if you and again, this is not to make a blanket statement or a one size fits all statement, but if what are some other things that you find are important for just like good mental health?
Activity.
Elaborate on that. Like exercise, you mean?
I think exercise or being outside, having the sun on you.
Vitamin D, is that what you get? Vitamin D?
I think, yeah. But I think, I know mindfulness is the buzzword lately, and lately meaning for a while. But good Lord, it's ancient. The practice of mindfulness is. So if you think of we spend our mind in the past or in the future or in some fantasy, and it's hard to kind of keep it in the present. And so I think part of mental health is being able to be aware of where your mind is going and redirecting it to the present. So that if you think about, for example, guided imagery and imagery being an event to the body, then when you have your mind in this state of worry and you're in this space, then your body is already reacting as if what you're worrying about or what you're thinking about is occurring. And if you can dial back on those instances and be present in the moment, whether that means, for 2 minutes, I'm going to listen to everything around me and just be present. My mind wanders, I'll bring it back to what's going on right here. I'm going to, see how many times I see the color blue around me or just anything. There's something that kind of keeps you present. And so when I say activity, it could be being outside and doing something like that, just being present. But yeah, I do think being physically active is going to release all those things that you already can make in your body that can help you feel good and combat stress. There are some research says caffeine good and doesn't matter. Some research says that it can affect your adrenal system up to 48 hours, which controls sleep and circadian rhythm. So you may feel a lot of fatigue. Mental health, cortisol is a stress hormone. It gets released whenever you're experiencing stress. And if you're in this chronic state of feeling this stress, then it's going to affect fatigue levels. It's going to affect energy levels. And that's going to affect sleep. And so
I think that's you sort of just painted a pretty neat little roadmap about when people go, stress is unhealthy. Like stress is extremely, like stress will kill you and it leads to heart disease and things like that. I've always thought, well, the stress is almost more of an intangible thing, but you just explained like with the release of cortisol or whatever, like that's the physical roadmap as to how stress is super, super fucking bad for you. And we all have it.
Sure.
I'm sure everybody listening to this has it, but I think it's important to maybe find a lightning rod, so to speak, just something that you can do that helps you deal with stress. I think that's probably, if you don't already have something like that or an outlet, a lot of people do exercise, I think it's probably super important. Casey?
My outlet is
Hookers.
Gaming. No.
I'm just kidding.
Is that unhealthy? Because I feel like nowadays it's pretty a social experience.
Sure.
That's usually how my brother lives in, another state. So to keep in touch with him or, friends that also live in other states, I'd hop online and we'll play games for 3 to 4 hours. And up until recently, I haven't been very active, but now I've been going like on a diet and actually going on walks and like running. And I've noticed a difference in energy, but as far as stress, I haven't noticed much of a difference because I feel like, and I guess with video gaming, you get those gambling endorphins or those like, whenever you win something, it feels good. When you lose, it feels bad kind of thing. But I just kind of wanted your take on, should I quit completely or?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a very good question.
I personally don't tend to look at things as all or nothing.
Okay.
So I think you would have to kind of gauge for yourself what is that serving for you each time. It's almost like if you are distracting, if it's a distraction plan from something, are you going to get back around to it? Video games may be a distraction for somebody who's feeling really, really anxious, really, really worried, or really angry, and then they need to do that so that whatever their next behavior isn't based on an emotional reaction. And so they might take video games of, okay, this is going to de-escalate me, and this is... So in that sense, it is a distraction. How much, though, is... I think you just have to ask
Like,
each
I never
time. Is
cancel
it
plans on anybody to play video games. However, after a long day, it's a good decompression.
Sure. And so part of it might be, how much is the escape becoming not beneficial? How much of it is, because we certainly can escape in a different world and do that for hours with video games, and then not really have worked toward helping whatever is in our real world be different, not achieve any change within ourselves necessarily for whatever is going on in
like
the
you
world.
just kind of ran away and didn't actually get the dishes done or call and apologize to that person or improve your routine,
whatever it might be. Yeah. Okay. How do you feel about it?
I mean, that's literally, I'd never do it to hide from anything.
Yeah.
Like I'm a pacifist, so I really don't try to stay away from negative, like, conflict. I hate confrontation. I really just don't care for it at all.
Because you talk a lot of shit.
I know. I never found myself hiding by playing video games. It's always been something to just, binging on Netflix for the night or going on a really long run. I get shin splints. I can't run for more than a mile and a half or so before I have to be like, all right, let's find something else cardio to do.
Yeah.
So I use video games as a way to, like I said, just decompress from the day.
Yeah.
Like, it's just been a long day. I just want to sit down and for the next 2 or 3 hours, just do this, get off, the PlayStation or whatever, go cook dinner, maybe watch a TV show, maybe go run, go for a walk, then go to bed. That's usually my daily routine.
Yeah. I think if you're checking in, to answer your question, I think it's, like I said, not a blanket statement, not all or nothing.
Right.
What do you think, Hunter?
I think Spencer used the word outlet, and it sounds like that's what you're doing. It sounds like that's what you were saying is most beneficial for mental health. And as far as I shouldn't say that, for maintaining mental health is to not let things build up, to avoid the stress. And I know, as Spencer said, we all deal with stress and everything else. But finding an outlet of some kind, I mean, again, no blanket statement, but the best thing you can do for yourself is have some kind of outlet. Walking, like you said, as basic as that is, it still gets you out. You don't even have to think, but you can process things that way. I mean, I used to do that. I used to take walks all the time.
Sure.
It's just a way to... I think it's the same as like if you're working on a long-term project in the real world, but mental health can work the same way. You take a break by doing something else versus just taking a break and sitting on your ass. If you do that, it doesn't work. But because then you can come back fresh.
Well, and again, speaking to what you had to say about mental health just in general, there's a lot of people that struggle with depression, and that is a blanket term. And so there's so many different reasons and kinds, and I know that manifests itself in a lot of different ways. And we had a guy that you will remember. I hope he's listening right now. Shout out Keith Wallen from Breaking Benjamin.
Oh, yeah.
He was our very first guest, and he was wonderful. And we were talking about some of the people that had died, or like some of the famous suicides of these people, like, including Robin Williams, which you and I talked. Just people. And it's always people go, I never knew that person was sad. Like, they seemed like they were on top of the world. And he was talking about it's not always real easily diagnosable, but if anybody's listening to this, the message we kind of wanted to get out was like, just talk to somebody. You know what I mean? Is that would you echo that sentiment? Is that sort of people having feelings of like depression and they've tried to fix it with exercise, or they've tried to do whatever, and it just can't kick it? They should definitely. Where's a good place to start looking? And let's say somebody's out there and they don't have a good support system and friends, and where would you recommend somebody look?
You can always, if it's a crisis, the suicide hotline, crisis hotline. If psychologytoday.com has a great therapist section where you put in your zip code and you'll pull up a list of profiles, a directory that has profiles of therapists who have listed themselves in that directory, and you can read a little bit about them.
Amazing. Okay, I didn't even know that was a resource. That's very handy for our listeners to know.
There's a great program at themiddlepath.life, and there are 3 therapists who are there, and they have a great IOP, intensive outpatient program for They have pre-adolescent, adolescent, and adults. Plus, they also do individual therapy. I speak very highly of them. I don't endorse them. I don't sponsor them. I'm not responsible for your experience with them. But I do say that I appreciate their work.
We'll be providing Carrie's personal phone number and her address to anybody that doesn't like the treatment they get there. You can just go up to her house and fucking tell her about it.
In all seriousness, though, probably in the description we should provide the suicide hotline number.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If we could.
Somebody want to Google that real quick while we've got it?
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and just read it out.
I got it right here. Yep.
Okay, go ahead and tell everybody.
So the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-8255.
All right.
So if you need to talk to somebody, if it's a crisis, give them a ring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and man, that's as a closing thought, not that necessarily I'm qualified to give it, but I would love everybody to know that, like, just don't feel like you're going through anything on your own. You may not have somebody right in front of you to help or talk to, but there are people that would like to help you. And so please just, reach out if you're struggling with something like that.
I also found above it looks like it's a different organization, but National Suicide Text Hotline, because I know actually talking about it can still not be what somebody wants to do, but if you want to get it out there another way, this is totally free, 24/7. Yeah, all you have to do is text 741-741.
Nice.
So I didn't know that was a thing, but that's good.
That's awesome. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Carrie, you're really going to come back and talk to us?
Yeah, if you want me.
Please do.
So I'm going to offer it up.
Can you take Spencer's spot?
Spencer,
I'd give it to you. You can stay.
I'd let you sit in this chair. If you guys have questions, again, maybe about some of the things we talked about like that, we wouldn't mind bouncing them off Carrie here. She would come back in. If you guys send a couple into the email address, Casey, tell them where they can find us.
You can email us at beaconhouseknox@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and Twitter at beaconhouseknox. And send us some questions, guys. Mailbag number 2. Yeah. We're excited for it.
Yeah, we're coming up on it. It's going to be every 10 episodes?
Hopefully.
Yeah, so fire those questions in and let's do it. So once again, Carrie, thank you so much for being here. Why don't you say goodbye to everybody?
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for having me.
And I'm Spence.
I'm Hunter.
I'm Casey. And
love you.
I like your metaphorical love.
Wow. Oh, my.